Amitabh Bachchan, it is great finally to have you on Beautiful People on CNBC TV 18.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And in what I am sensing, a particularly happy frame of mind, both as an actor and as the founder of AB Corp.
Yeah, fortunately, both things don't normally happen at the same time. But to get critical acclaim as well as box office acclaim is indeed very fortunate for us.
Okay, let's talk about power from the perspective of an actor. Balki has been telling us that one of the things you had to do to get into the skin of Oro is to forget about being Amitabh Bachchan. So the voice had to go, that deep baritone, that's trademark had to go.
Actually, I never looked at it that way. These are perspectives of other people who work with me. What I was particularly conscious of and apprehensive about was how he was going to convert me into a 13-year-old. And when he showed me various medical manuals, and we did a lot of DVDs on case studies of children, unfortunately, that have been afflicted by this disease, then we discovered a face of a patient, and we felt that this was the face that we wanted. And that was then given to the makeup people to replicate. So I'm never conscious of what people want to do with me. They just tell me this is your role, and I interpret it in my way. If it falls in line with what the director has wanted, then good. Otherwise, I just listen to what he says. In fact, the voice was never an issue. We were more conscious about how the face is going to look. There were a couple of things that we had to take liberties with. One was, of course, the height, because everyone is, so conscious and already knows what my height is. He never worried about the voice, because he said, I want you to speak in your normal voice, and later on we can, technically tweak it and make it sound. But I just felt that if they were going to do that, it would obviously sound like, the old Chipmunk records and so on and so forth. And we didn't want that. So while we were doing the very first makeup, and when the teeth came on and everything, I just, gave him a demonstration of how I would talk, and he said, fine, this is good. And that remained.
So you're saying for you, the role of Oro, or getting into the role of Oro, was really 90%, if not more, about the physicality, of getting the physicality right.
I would give credit to the makeup department.
So it's not about losing the persona of Amitabh Bachchan that we are so familiar with, starting with the voice, some mannerisms. There are things that you do which we love, we copy, and we look forward to.
But actually, surprisingly, it's only after the film was released and over that we started talking about this aspect, because it never ever occurred to us that we needed to deliberately cut out all those factors that were associated with me as my own self. It was only afterwards, because a lot of people started saying that, hey, do you realize that we don't get to see you, and which is in fact very prominent in the film. You never ever get to see the actual face of the actor.
In July, Abhishek Bachchan was on this show. I want you to see something that Abhishek said to us in this interview.
I have what I have because of my parents, because of my name, and because of them being in my life. Having said that, I'm still the only star son who's never worked in his father's production. Pa, which is a film I'm producing, a film I'm in charge of, is going to be my first AB Corp production. I've worked for 10 years and my father didn't launch me. He didn't have the money to at that point of time. And he told me, and I think it was a huge burden on him. He actually sat me down and said, I'm feeling bad because I should be introducing you to this world. I should be taking care of you, but I don't have the money to, and I'm very sorry. And that day I decided that I will never allow my father to say that ever again, to say, I'm sorry, I couldn't do this for you. And I never wanted him to feel that. That was a huge pressure for me to become successful. And when my films weren't working, that was one of the major things that got to me. That I promised myself that I'd make my father proud. I promised him that I would never make him regret not being able to do what traditionally fathers are expected to do for their sons. And year after year, film after film, I failed. And that killed me more than not being able to make a successful film.
That's a lot. He's absolutely right. We never had the means to launch him. we never went about traditionally going as people in the same profession, Jay and me being in the same profession, and have a kid who wants to join the profession and therefore back him and support him. So we never had the means. All we did was we supported in whatever he wanted to do. Somewhere also there was this hidden desire of allowing Abhishek to take his own decisions, of wanting to stand on his own feet, to go through the struggle, to make sure that things are not going to be easy for him. We can support him for 1 or 2 films, but after that it's his own personal talent, his own acceptability in the market that is going to count.
But it bothered you that you couldn't provide him the launch vehicle?
Not entirely, no. Yes, I would have, like a good father, wanted to do something for my son. But on hindsight, I think that it's better that he did it on his own, because 5 years, 10 years from now, hopefully when he has created a name and a standing of his own, then he will be able to say, I did this on my own.
The start to his career was a struggle. The start to your career was a struggle. And both of you have to go through your destinies. But having said that, would you say that his was a little tougher because your father, though legendary in his own sphere, was from a sphere different from yours? What I'm trying to say, Mr. Bachchan, is did you have it easier? Because you were not compared.
Yeah, I think that Abhishek would have had a tougher time because he's Jaya and my son. And therefore there is already some kind of an expectation and a tag that he has to live up to. And therefore, yes, people look at him with greater scrutiny and still do, and will always do. I actually enjoy that. I think that this should be like a constant challenge for him. And for artists, I think it's wonderful to be challenged almost every day and to live with this pressure that I have to do well all the time. When I grew up, very early I realized that I was Bachchanji's son. And everywhere I went, I was always introduced as his son. And therefore, what we did, what we said, how we behaved, what we did in college, whether we did well in sports, whether we did well in our career, was always this conscious effort that, I need to not let the name down. I don't think there's anything wrong in that. So I'm very happy that Abhishek feels that way, and that the people feel that he needs to do a lot better than what is expected of him if he were not to be my son. I think as artists we need to be challenged every moment. I am no less. I still feel the nerves and the butterflies, and I look forward to tomorrow and what I'm going to be doing and how I'm going to be doing it. I think Abhishek should also be in the same position. There's no harm in that.
You said that when you were in college, you felt the weight of the Bachchan surname.
Yes, of course, because you don't want to. People identify.
Is that the most precious thing that you have? The legacy, the Bachchan name, the heritage, and is everything that you do at some level, personally and as a family, gearing towards ensuring that
It's not just me. I mean, it'll be true for you. It'll be true for any individual. They do want to live up to the legacy of their parents. They never want to let their parents down. I think this is a very social order of India, and we're very proud of that. We don't, leave our homes when we are 18 years old and say, okay, mom and dad, see you, and look after yourself. We actually go out to look for work, to be able to stand on our own feet in order to look after our parents. I feel proud that I was able to do that, and I'm sure that every other Indian wants to do that. But that's the kind of culture that the country and that we've been brought up in. And we want to continue doing that. So everyone wants to do that. Yes, I'm very proud of my legacy, and I want to maintain it, and I want to make sure that the name doesn't go down. But that is also a great propulsion for us to keep laboring and keep working harder every day.
You still get butterflies every day when you go to work?
Oh yes, every day.
Where does this stem from, this insecurity, after a career that spans 40 years and that has seen highs, lows and everything in between?
Yeah, but I think any kind of complacency in this profession, or rather in any profession, is very detrimental to the final outcome. Yeah. If I were to be complacent and say, look, I've done it all, and I don't need to bother about it. Yeah, it's a piece of cake for me. No, that would be
And you've
terrible.
never experienced this in the 40 years. You've never gone through a phase where you felt that it was all easy and
Not at all.
never.
Never ever.
Not even at the height in the 70s.
There is no height. I don't believe that there are any heights. I do work. Some of it gets appreciated. Some of it doesn't work. Fine. But every day is a new job, is a new day, is a new challenge, and I've always looked at it that way.
You don't think there were any heights?
I'd rather, somebody point it out to me. I just look upon it as a job that I did, and people liked it. I don't know whether it reached some kind of a height, because I really don't know what that height is.
I believe, and I can hear you say, oh, here it comes. I believe that the 70s and up to the mid 80s, before the political career, the aborted political career, was the zenith. And then again, from 2000, this entire decade has been perhaps almost as exciting
Yeah.
as the 70s. Is that correct, my observation?
I leave that observation with you.
Observation
And
has
I
been
will not
made.
challenge
now,
it.
Now you need to endorse it.
I will not challenge it, but if that is your perspective, then I can maybe talk about it and say, okay, I was setting off in the late 60s and early 70s, and yes, there were a few films that became very successful, and a number of them then followed, and there was a wonderful opportunity to work with all the great producers and directors of the time. And then from this period, when I have aged, I'm really thinking that I'm very fortunate to have had the opportunity of people actually giving me roles and still challenging me. Some of the opportunities that I've had have been absolutely phenomenal. So I just consider that to be a very large chunk of luck that I got it. And the fact that some of them succeeded, whether it was in films or whether it was in television, it just happened and it succeeded. I doubt if there was ever a moment during this period where I felt that I shouldn't be doing this, or what is the result going to be, or looked at it in a manner where I think that, is this going to be successful or not? No. I looked upon it as an opportunity to get work. You must realize that when I started back in 2000, I was the company had failed. Well, failed in the sense that we lost all our money.
And you owed.
And owed a lot of money to
yes.
everybody. So my desire at that time was to search work, not to establish myself as an actor, but to earn money to be able to pay back people. And that was my main concern, because I would never have been able to face those people. And the other factor, of course, that a company that bore my name, my father's name rather, I never wanted it to be looked upon in bad light. So I needed to work. So my idea and my desire to work at that time was more to be able to earn that money to pay back the debts. Fortunately, that happened. And once that happened, then I just kept accepting work that came my way. Not with this intention that, this is my comeback, or all these wonderful, vocabularies that the media uses for me. No, not at all. I'm just happy doing work, that's it.
I think in the 80s and the 90s, when you did work, the years that you did work, the work that you were getting, that between the filmmakers, film producers, and perhaps even yourself, the industry as a whole, there seemed to be a certain acceptance and complacency that this is Amitabh Bachchan, this is what works, this is what people want, and so let's do more of it. Whereas in 2000, the decade starting 2000, I believe that filmmakers started pushing the envelope when it came to the kind of work they were dreaming of making with you. Am I right?
They're absolutely right. And that's a very natural phenomenon. In fact, Javed Saab, who wrote many wonderful scripts along with Salim Saab for me, had a very wonderful analysis of this. And said the moment the actor starts actually imitating himself in the kind of films that he does, that's the beginning of his downfall. But what really happened was that I'm not conscious of the fact that I'm doing that. But the writers and the producers that are making them, they will, and perhaps reached a point where they didn't know what else they could give me. That's one. The other point was that there will always be that factor in any actor's life when he is transiting from his youth to his next generation age. And that is a very tricky period. Many actors will fail, will stop work and respectfully retire. Those that continue live in this almost a falsehood that they are perennially going to be young. And I think that's the error that they make. There are some that will accept that, yeah, I must accept my age and move on to the next generation. But when you move on to the next generation, you're not going to be the leading man. You're not going to get the best lines. You're not going to be the star of the show. You're going to be second or third or maybe fourth in line of recognition. I think that all actors that have reached any kind of peak or a peak of adulation will have to contend with this, that with time you will be relegated a couple of steps back. Now, either you go ahead and accept that position and say, fine, I'm happy being an actor. I don't care what you or which position you put me in, but let me just work. Those are the moments that count a lot in an actor's life. And I think that's what that perhaps happened with me. In that period which didn't work, the producers were pushing me into the kind of roles which I'd done in the 70s and the 80s. I wasn't young anymore, and I was repeating myself in what I was doing. A film like Mrityudata, for example, made with very good intention, but it was just wanting to repeat things that I'd already done for so many years, perhaps successfully. That was one. The other was this break that I took, or this so-called sabbatical that I took for 5 years, was an absolute error. I should never have stopped working, because a lot of water flowed in that period. The moment people don't see you, they want to see somebody else.
You're talking about the early 90s.
Yeah. And then there are younger stars and there are fresher faces, and they become prominent. And then when you come back again with your same old routine at the back, you're going to get rejected. And that's what happened. So I think it's best to realize that you're old now and you're in your 60s and your 50s and you have to play character roles. And that's what I did. I accepted that I needed to work.
And then once you accepted it, it all opened up again, isn't it? Because
well, I don't
the
know
movies
whether
you're
it
getting
opened
today,
up,
Mr. Bachchan, are not the second lead role. They are movies being made to showcase your inherent skills.
Yeah, okay. Granted that a lot of them were...
Finally.
No. They were designed keeping me in mind. But I'm just saying that was sheer luck and mere fortune that I was given these roles. But they will never be able to compete and compare with the younger leading stars of the time. You cannot compare either the business or the adulation of say a Shah Rukh or a Salman or an Amir or a Hrithik or a Ranbir or the entire younger set.
Abhishek.
Or Abhishek with the kind of films that I was doing, but even now, I mean, whether it's business or whether it's even in adulation. Yes, you get a lot of acclaim and you get critical acclaim and so on and so forth, but as far as the rankings of adulation and commerce is concerned, I will always be 2 or 3 rungs below.
What is the kind of process internally that you had to go through to come to a happy acceptance of this? Of the fact that youth is what makes the wheels turn? I
think the way that I'm perhaps mentally built, I would have naturally gone into that phase. But something additional happened to me, and which was the loss of my company and the loss of the money and the absolute necessity that I had to work in order to be able to pay that money. So I just accepted whatever came my way just to earn that money.
So that's simple.
And therefore it naturally sort of the changeover almost happened naturally.
Would I be right in saying that beyond movies and cinema, there is not much else you know about or care about?
I really don't.
I don't mean personally.
I don't even know much about cinema either.
That's not true.
No, I don't know the business side of it at all. I don't know the production side of it at all. I don't know the distribution or the marketing or the publicity, and I marvel at today's generation.
You're not doing such a bad job on the publicity front, Mr. Bachchan.
It's all borrowed, and it's all run over my shoulders as though it's me that's doing it. It's not me at all. Please don't live under that illusion. It's somebody else doing it. And they are very good at it. And they just come with all these wonderful concepts and ideas. And I merely say yes and I sign a few checks, that's all.
So you're saying that the skills you have where cinema is concerned is that of an instinctive, natural born actor.
Yeah.
That's
well,
it.
Instinctive, yeah.
How, Mr. Bachchan, can instinct have given us the kind of, only instinct, given us the kind of range that you have, whether it's fun or sorrow or just joy, style? You know, even today, you put on any of the Hindi movie channels and you will have Amitabh Bachchan Film Festival going on, you'll have other film festivals going on. Do you ever stop to see your own films? Do you have the time?
To answer the first part of your question, I think I would have to question you. If you say that, you know, how can you do this and how can you do that, you'll have to also say how I could not do that. Because I've never been trained, I've never followed any kind of research or rehearsal or anything like that. People just have written things and I've gone on set and sat with them and done it. And they've approved it. So I really don't know whether I'm doing the right thing or not. Maybe there's somebody else who could have done it better. But it's just that because they took me and I did it the way I did it, it was approved. So I really don't know whether it was the right thing or the correct thing to do.
Clearly it was the right thing, Mr. Bachchan.
No, but fortunately it succeeded or whatever happened.
Actually, what I can't come to terms with is that how can such excellence, erratic sometimes, but such excellence.
I'm not liking the word excellence.
But you don't mind the word erratic, so I'm okay.
Yeah.
But how can that be just instinct plus luck and other people's approval?
Because I haven't approved anything myself.
You have given so
I've never gone to a producer and say, hey, make a story like this, where I come out and I kick somebody's backside and I sing at these songs. I'd never do that. It's they who design it. Then I see a little window there where I can put my foot in and do something.
The control is not with you ever.
No, not at all.
Ever?
No, never.
So the Amitabh Bachchan that we know and like and want to watch has been created by a whole lot
Others.
of people
Yeah, absolutely.
over the years.
Yeah.
No, Mr. Bachchan.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I don't think you're going to budge from this.
No, it's a fact. Give me an example then of where I've done the other.
I'm just saying that wouldn't you be the captain of...
Cite me one example where I've done that. Bring anybody, bring a producer, a director, writer, songwriter, anybody, television, say, Mr. Bachchan came to us and said, do this, because I want to do it. I never said that. It was they who came with an idea. Yes, once the idea came to me, then we sat and discussed how we could do it. And yes, there have been inputs from me on an idea that is not mine, it was theirs. Whether it was KBC or whether it was a film or whether it was a song situation, they say, we have a song situation. This is what it is and this is the kind of song. I can then say, look, I think maybe if we do this to the tune or if we do this to the song or if we do this little prologue in KBC, maybe it'll work. All those kind of things have been my inputs, but the original idea has never been mine.
Which also means, therefore, that you would need to have tremendous amount of trust in the people you work with, right?
Yes, yeah.
Because you do want to protect what is yours.
That's a good point. My acceptance is more on trust of people rather than their actual ability. And which is really a sort of a dichotomy, because if you don't have the ability, then you don't develop the trust. But I would give more to trust. And somebody comes to me and says, I want to make this kind of a film. And if I trust him, I just go ahead and do it. Which is why perhaps some of the things work, some of the things don't work. And a lot of accusation comes to me. How can you be associated with this film?
I know.
And why did you do
but
this?
But those accusations have petered down in this decade, Mr. Bachchan. You've got to admit that.
Maybe I'm trusting the right people.
No, and also maybe you're not doing work just because you have to, you have the pressures of having to...
I would continue to work. I would want to continue to work, let's put it that way. And if it's if it's not impeding my lifestyle, and if I'm healthy enough, and if my face is acceptable, then I would like to continue doing.
Let's talk about this decade, Mr. Bachchan, because I think starting the year 2000, we are in 2009, closing days of 2009. So much has changed, I think, in the Hindi movie business. What would you highlight as the most exciting for somebody who's bang in the middle of it and leading it very often?
Change in quality, change in appreciation, but all that is coming because audiences have changed. A lot of people say, you know, your cinema is not the same as it used to be earlier on, and there are the critics who love the lyricism and the poetry and the so-called terao that was there in the earlier films. But you know, there was a lot of terao in our existence during that time. There was poetry and there was time for lyricism, let me put it that way. This generation doesn't have that time. It's not their fault. Look at the speed with which everything moves today. You know, whether it's the computer or the mobile or how you think, it's all so rapid because of this cable that carries information at unbelievable speed. Your mind starts thinking like that. You know, we are not very far off from building a computer that is going to be able to work at the same speed as your mind. That has a reflection on our lives, on the way we think, on the way we conduct ourselves daily. It used to take 7 or 8 days to book a call to New York, you know, 30 years ago, well, yeah, in 1969, 70. But look where we are now. And because of that, I think we are all, we're all forced to multitask because we don't want to wait for some damn window in a computer to open. And if it's taking more than 1.5 seconds, then you want to utilize that 1.5 seconds to make a call, because that can happen. If you're traveling from South Bombay to North Bombay and vice versa, it's going to take you an hour and a half. There is no alternative for that. So you conduct your work during this time within this travel period. You're in your car because you have the means and you have the communication skills and those facilities that are available to you to be able to do that. When your mind is thinking so fast, suddenly to bring a film for which you spent a very large sum of money with the popcorn and with the family and everyone and in a multiplex, you want things to move as rapidly as possible. Yeah, okay, I know what you're going to say, so come on, hurry up.
Cut to the chase.
Yeah. Can you just hurry up with what you want to say? This is what this generation is saying. Why are those old formatted films failing? Because they say, yeah, I know this guy is going to say this to him, and then this girl is there, and the dad will come in or the villain will come in. Okay, what else have you got to say? It's that format is now disappearing. Give me something fresh, give me something new. Give me time to pin me down to my seat, or show me something that's going to pin me down, which I haven't seen before or which I'm interested in seeing. That has brought in a lot of revolution in the way that things are being made now. And the younger generation is doing that. All the young generation is thinking so rapidly and so collectively in this direction that that's been the change. I'm not saying that it's good, I'm not saying that it's bad either. For someone like me to comment on it, yes, I will always say, you know, Rishida and Manmohan Desai and Prakash Mehra, what films they made. And we will always reflect back on those times. 10 years from now, people will be reflecting back on what we are doing, what this generation is doing now. Yeah, fantastic, you know, Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge and Wanted and Kambakht and you know, all these, you know, popular films. And say those were the days, yeah, you know, they were damn good.
Nostalgia.
But, yeah. So we look at it now as, perhaps you and me will look at it and say, you know, this is not really good cinema or whatever it is. But it's popular, otherwise why would it be running?
Are you enjoying these changes, and do they challenge you to get on top of these changes?
Yeah,
or are you doing it because you need to, if you need to stay relevant?
Both actually, both. I like doing it because these are new inventions and one wants to know what's happening. And they're so wonderful. They help you in your existence. And the other thing is that, you know, if I didn't do it, you know, I'd be left behind. And I'd probably be isolated. I find a lot of the with all due respects, the older generation, not conversant with the mobile and not being able to send even an SMS. And at times feeling that, I don't know how to do this and I'm feeling so bad because I missed this, or I missed this communication, or I missed this interaction with somebody that is close to me, or whatever it is. I hope that I don't get into that situation.
But do you think that it's possible for you to do it because you're Amitabh Bachchan, or do you think an average 67-year-old would be able to lead the kind of life that you're leading? I don't mean, sorry, not life.
Don't use the word Amitabh Bachchan because, that's another name, just another name. But if you're saying, yes, somebody that is close to 70 years old and wants to do this, yes. They say that we use just a third of our brain during an entire lifetime. I just want to use a quarter of it more than somebody else. That's it.
That could be the energy that could drive.
If I know that there is a
people.
capacity which is being lying unused and is going to go onto my funeral pyre, I just want to, tickle it a bit and maybe use a little more of it.
After the direct political career that you gave a shot at, or you tried out in '84, you completely left formal politics.
Yeah.
You don't like to comment on politics,
No.
you're not a political being, and yet, Mr. Bachchan, ever since then, to this 2009, 2010, there are so many instances of your life, personal and professional, getting linked with either politicians or the politics of the day and age. Why does that happen?
That's ridiculous because I'm not in politics. I went into politics, and I've said this many times.
Are you a soft target, you think? I mean, is it easy
Well, we can come to that. I entered politics on an emotional note. I went in there. Fortunately or unfortunately, I won. But having won the election, I realized that it's not just about winning an election and looking after your electorate. There's a lot more that happens in politics. And I was not qualified for it. So I was a misfit. I didn't know anything about it. And therefore, rather than, force my bad qualifications onto the electorate or to the people or to the party that I was representing, I decided to quit. And I have remained away from that. Now, I have never associated myself with anything political. I have never made any political statements. Even as an individual, many a times I have been provoked to give my opinion, but I feel that my opinion needs to remain personal because of the fact that because I'm a celebrity or a well-known name, whatever I say is going to be highlighted by the media, not necessarily in the sense that I may have meant it in. And therefore, rather not allow it to go public and be quiet about it, than to create unnecessary talk, unnecessary controversy, because as an individual, I think I've had my fair share of controversy, and it still hasn't ended. And it's part of the baggage that comes with any known figure, and we will accept that and we will go along with it. But why unnecessarily add another few bags to it? And therefore, I've kept away from it. If I am a known face, and if I am in the category of a celebrity, there is obviously going to be a possibility of people wanting to know everything that we do. I can grow a French beard and have an editorial written on it in the Times of India. I could visit some place and there could be a story made out of it. But we are also human beings. We are very normal people. We are citizens of this country. We like to lead a very normal life. But if somebody is going to read more than what is desired of us as normal human beings, that is really not my lookout. That is the way you will represent me. And I must have an opportunity to either accept it or deny it. In these circumstances and in these situations, yes, there will be people whom we are friendly with. And if those people happen to be from the world of politics, that does not necessarily mean that we follow their politics or we follow their belief or their thought. But yes, there will always be the speculation that because you associate with a particular individual, therefore, this needs to be politicized. That we do not agree with.
Earlier this year, you were in Singapore because Amar Singh, who is a very dear friend of yours, was very, very ill. A very difficult phase in your life personally. I don't think anybody would question that.
All right.
But in 2007, when you did the UP films,
Yeah.
UP films,
Yeah.
funded by the UP government, which was then governed by the
You're
Samajwadi
wrong.
Party.
You're wrong. It was not funded by the UP government. It was funded individually. And it was done for the state of Uttar Pradesh. I was not supporting any party then. They said, you were born in this state. We want you to say something good about the state because we want to invite investment. And it was for that reason.
Okay,
I was part of a group of people that wanted to work for the development of the state, and there were very many prominent people in there. There was Mr. Godrej, there was Mr. Ambani, there was Sahara Shri, there was Nandan Nilekani. All the top people were part of this group that wanted to give their support and help and ideas as to how and what UP could do in order to make it into a progressive state. That's all. That was not, it was more for the state to bring it up and invite investment for the development of the state. It wasn't party centric at all.
Okay, Mr. Bachchan, let's say I accept this, and let's say most people accept this. Should you have done it, given that a lot of people would interpret it as being tacit endorsement of the Samajwadi Party government, because it was also before the state elections?
Yeah,
I'm saying, do you need to be even more careful than normal people,
Yeah,
even
sure.
though the intentions may be absolutely above board?
yeah, then then you'll have to stop me from doing
Everything.
polio.
Living.
Then say, hey, somebody's going to get wrong ideas about polio. Nobody says that about polio. Why not? Why didn't you stop me when I was propagating that breastfeeding is good for women and their children? Nobody stopped me doing that. Why doesn't anybody stop me from talking about cancer, about AIDS, about handicapped children? Why do you only pick on politics?
Because it's such a vitiated cesspool. you know.
Okay. But if I'm
And
talking,
because today,
but if I'm talking, if I'm saying and I'm going out there and saying, you vote for a particular party, yeah, I can understand that. But when I'm not saying that, I'm saying for the good of the people of a particular state. What's wrong with that? And it could be any state. Let any state ask me to do that. I will happily do that.
there is
Nobody asked me. There are accusations that you never did anything for Maharashtra or that you never did it for Maharashtra, but nobody asked me.
you would do it if they
Of
did.
course.
You just have to believe in the cause.
Yes, I must believe in the cause. Why not?
Given that there is so much scrutiny that we put to everything that you say and do, has that changed the way you instinctively react and do things?
No, it will never change me, and I hope it never does. Yes, we need to be cautious, but I think that that is a kind of a standard for anybody that's a celebrity. They have to be very conscious of the fact of what they do, what they say, how they behave in the public arena. Behind closed doors, what you do in home, nobody's interested. But yes, when you do go out in the public domain, then we have to be conscious about that.
I find this very interesting. You have called the people who log on to your blog and your fans your extended family. You said that after a point when you get into your home, people don't really care about what you're doing.
Yeah.
We are speaking at a time where Tiger Woods, the greatest golfer of our era, is facing a backlash from people and the brands he endorses because of some choices he's made in his personal life of infidelity, which is really his business and his wives.
Yeah.
If you were to tell your fans how to react or where their relationship stops with the celebrity in the context of the Tiger Woods controversy, where does one draw
I
the
would
line?
never tell them to stop reacting.
Even if that means that they impose their moral codes on the celebrity.
I'll tell you the reason. I am what I am because of them. They were the ones that liked me when they saw me on screen. They go and see my films. They scream and shout for me. They patronize me. I will give them that liberty. So when I write my blog, I don't monitor it. I don't have
That's
it,
true.
whatever comes through, comes through. There are abuses, there
You
is
don't moderate
disagreement.
it essentially.
I never moderate, no. There's no moderation at all. Because I must give them the liberty to express themselves. Whether it's right or wrong, yes, I will answer that. There are questions that come to me which are absolutely false and totally wrong, largely due to the impression or the perception that they've had because of certain writings or because of media reportage or whatever it is. And I will correct that. But I will not correct the mass. I have no power.
But if the mass wants to impose their moral code of conduct on the celebrity, whether it is you or Tiger Woods,
Right.
is that acceptable? Because I may be an Amitabh Bachchan fan, but I'm an Amitabh Bachchan fan not because of the kind of father he is or husband he is,
Right.
but because of the kind of actor he is. That is
Fair
what
enough.
created this relationship in the first place.
Absolutely. I don't know whether I'll be able to follow that, but I will not deny them the opportunity or the right to say it.
Really?
Yeah.
It is so vital, the oxygen that the
that's
fan
a very,
provides.
very normal democratic principle.
But you're saying you accept that they have the right to.
Most certainly, of course. They've been with us. They look at us. They idolize you. What if the god or the person that you idolize was suddenly found wanting or found to be doing something wrong? You should have the liberty to tell them. If you have the liberty to approve them and to applaud them, then you should be able to tell them that I think you're doing wrong. Whether I follow that or not, that's separate. But they must not be denied the right to say that. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Bachchan, the work you have spreads over 200 films today, I think, or
Little less than that.
little less
Yeah.
than about 180 films, I think. If you had to introduce,
That's also part of my design. I don't count how many I've done.
if you had to introduce someone who was keenly interested in Hindi cinema and wanted to know the phenomenon of Amitabh Bachchan, what are the films you'd recommend that person watches?
All of them.
180?
Yeah.
That's expecting, that's expecting love to carry interest very far.
Actually, it would be very difficult for me to
You've
do that.
got me out. This is another way of me trying to find out
I know.
what are the special films.
So if we were to divide, my career into 4 decades, then, Abbas Saab for discovering me, Rishikesh Mukherjee, maximum number of films that I've done with any director is him. A lot of people think it's somebody else, but no, it's Rishikesh Mukherjee. And all those wonderful films, they're just incredible. Anand, Abhiman, Mili, Chupke Chupke, Bemisal, Jurmana, all of them, such fantastic stories. Salim Javed for writing some of the most magnificent scripts in the history of Indian cinema. Prakash Mehra, Sharabi, Zanjeer, Muqaddar Ka Sikandar, Manmohan Desai for Amar Akbar Anthony and Naseeb and all this extraneous stuff that he used to build up, and we all used to think that he's absolutely crazy, but he was a master. Yash Chopra, Ramesh
Trishul.
Sippy, Trishul and Diwar, Kabhi Kabhi, Silsila. We have Ramesh Sippy and Sholay, and then move on to the next generation with Tinu Anand and Mukul Anand and Agnipath and Shahin Shah and the generation after that, Adi Chopra, Karan Johar, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham and Mohabbatein and Sanjay Leela Bhansali and Black and then the next generation and the younger ones now and then Balki with Chini Kam and now Pa and
So it
it's
has
just-
to be the 180. Someone who doesn't know Amitabh Bachchan's work needs to watch the 180 and counting.
Yeah, or just ignore me.
That's very hard to do, Mr. Bachchan, you know that. You want to leave us with a thought or a simple motto that you use to live your life?
Man ka ho to acha, na ho to zyada acha. My father taught me this. I was in school, I was doing the school play, and I'd won the Best Actor Cup the previous year and I was going to win it again, and then one day or 2 days before the play was to be done, I came down with measles and they stopped me from doing it. So I was
Devastated.
Yeah. And Founders Week, all the parents come up to watch you, and he had come up. So while the play was going on, he sat with me, knowing that my mind would be there, and he told me this. Man ka ho to acha, na ho to zyada acha. I never understood it. I said, man ka nahi acha ho raha, zyada acha kaise ho sakta hai? So no, then it's happening according to the will of God, and He will never ever want anything to go wrong with you. That's why it's better. Things happen according to the way you want, good. If not, better, because it's happening according to the wish of the Almighty.
We hope the Almighty wishes you well. We wish you well, Mr. Bachchan. Thank you for your time.
Thanks very much. Thank you.